Hello, UK Crime Book Club. I am absolutely thrilled to be back with Guy Hale. Goodness knows what's going to come out of your mouth, though, so we'll see.
Words, only words, and maybe a bit of spit.
Delightful. Would you like to tell us a little bit about the Croaking Raven and show off this amazing cover?
I certainly would. I will show you the cover from the paperback, which is soon to be launched this month.
Is the paperback shiny like the hardback?
There is some shininess where the blood is. So yeah, there's a bit of
shine.
Yeah, there's a bit of shine around there. It's a very nicely presented book, as you would expect from myself. But yeah, it's the first of a series of two new detectives, Toby Marlowe, who's a young idealistic detective, and Detective Sergeant Fred Williams, who isn't. He's a strong believer. It's set in 1972 Stratford-on-Avon, and Fred is a strong believer of beating confessions out of victims, helping them fall downstairs, etc., etc. And they form an unlikely partnership, and the yin and the yang of idealism and cynical tyranny. But, you know, it seems to work quite well. And they've got an actor whose career was ruined by Sir Maurice Oxford and the rest of the members of his company some 15 years before. And he had a nervous breakdown and ran away to Morocco. And in those days, when you disappeared, you disappeared. There was no internet. There was no tracking you on your card or your phone. They didn't exist. And he returns 15 years later to wreak vengeance upon those who ruined his career. He's got fitter and stronger. His musculature has changed. He's filled out. He has long blonde hair now. He's changed the colour of his eyes. Nobody recognises him, and he moves throughout the people of Stratford, following the plot of Hamlet and killing his victims following that plot. In the second book I'm writing now, he likes to kill all his leading ladies. So obviously that's based on Othello. And in the third and final part of the trilogy, it's based on Macbeth. So everybody dies. But that's just the starter for the Marlowe and Williams oeuvre, because there's another 3 books to come from them that are all planned out and ready to go. So
how many is that in total there?
Well, there's another series of Jimmy Wayne, The Price of Fame. But before I start the second series of Jimmy Wayne next year, there is the origin story of Ma Lanton. So Ma Lanton will have the first of her trilogy of her life story, starting from a young girl in St. Louis up to the present day. And that will probably be 1 book a year for that one, leeching around a Jimmy book and a Marlowe book every year.
So I know we're here to talk about the Croaking Raven, but we can't not discuss what you're going to do with Ma Lanton. Well, she's a formidable woman. I would not like to be friends with or on the wrong side of her, but she's fascinating to read about from an arm's length.
I think
from a country's length.
With Ma Lanton, what can't I talk about? Where can't I go? I mean, Ma Lanton is as crazy as a box of frogs. And some would say she's evil. I just like to think she knows her own mind. And, you know, she likes to protect what's hers and protect what isn't hers and probably take it as well. She's a lady who believes in galloping capitalism. And she's quite creative in how she achieves those goals. And, you know, she's 76, but she's a lady who likes a good time. And she lives life to her rules. And she's an amazingly strong woman. I like to think of Genghis Khan mixed with Margaret Thatcher and, who can we think of? Sophia Loren in a prime. So I just think she's an odd mix, a terrifyingly odd mix, some would say. But she is a Lady Macbeth for our time, I like to think, but on steroids.
And that about sums it up, yeah.
Well, I think that's a fair description, isn't it?
Can't wait to read that one. We've got hellos from Sarah, Kaz and Donna. Donna, who's Trouble One and Double Trouble? I'm guessing you're Double Trouble. Yeah, must be.
Yeah,
Can't be
I can't see anybody on here. So should I click on the?
Are you on the right tab? Have
Should I
you got
click
the
on
chat
comments?
tab?
Hang on. Let's click
Yeah.
on comments. Yeah, I can see. Oh, all the usual suspects there. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Donna. Yeah. How you doing?
Yeah, Kaz has been helping me because we've got some new tech going tonight and I'm useless. Just with new things. Once I get going, I'm absolutely fine. But yeah.
Yeah, let's hope somebody finds us apart from Sarah and Donna.
So you are currently working on book 2. More deaths than book 1, grislier than book 1.
Oh, was book 1 grisly, would you say?
We can really get into it, but in fact, let's do that now. Yes, there are some really gruesome, grisly scenes in it. However, with your trademark humour thrown in, dark humour, they're not quite as. They're not going to be for somebody who only likes cozy stuff.
No, I don't think you can ever describe it as cozy. No.
But even though they're gruesome, because you're just funny, it's not like hitting you over head with the gore.
I like to call it gore with a grin. You know, I just think that's kind of like a nice. That's probably a new category, number 1 in Amazon, gore with a grin. Yeah, so
like it.
Yeah,
sounds pretty appropriate.
I just made that up as well. Yeah, I should be a writer.
You should. Yeah, we'll talk about that.
I really should. Yeah.
So you've got a good balance, I'd say, of you're building this team. Toby's just come in. You know, he's brand new in this office, and you've got it takes a little bit of time for people to kind of stop treating him like the baby, like the you know, because he's so young.
Yeah, he's about my age.
They just you could be twins, and he's just kind of finding his feet, but everyone's taking the mickey out of him. But he's a bit smarter than they give him credit for.
Oh,
but he's still very wet behind the ears in some ways as well.
Yeah, he's a very smart cookie. He's idealistic, and Fred's going to knock that out of him for sure. You know,
I don't know. I feel like Toby's going to have some stuff knocked out of him by Fred, but Fred's going to kind of lighten up and come into the present.
Yeah, my feeling is they're going to be good for each other because, you know, they are the yin and the yang of the old ways and the new ways. And there are merits to both sides. And I think they'll complement each other, and they will, and they are becoming respectful and friends. And I think they realize they can both learn something from each other. So,
and their respective skills are really good when they go to, I don't want to give anything away, but when they go to crime scenes, you know, they both have a different take on things, but Fred really knows how to talk to people.
Yeah.
And Toby's kind of still finding his feet in his, he's not inappropriate, but he can't really tell straight off when people are taking the mickey out of him.
No, he can't. No, but in the second book, he's getting a lot more assertive, and you know, he's definitely finding his feet now. So, yeah. And I mean, Toby wouldn't have taken the sausages into evidence in the first novel like Fred did, and then eaten the evidence. But you know,
spoiler alert. Very, very minor spoiler. We're good.
I think we can release the sausage secret. Yeah, but yeah, I don't think he would have done that himself. He was shocked, as you can tell. But I think no sausage will be safe in future books. So,
Sarah's saying you should be a writer. Lol. Her words.
Yeah, I should. I really should.
There's a lot of great characters in this one. So you've got a lot going on, but it's not ram-packed with things. You can just kind of, you're building your team. We're getting familiar with everybody. We're getting to know the people in Stratford.
Yeah.
You know, and we're getting to know like the Dirty Duck, the pub, and there's a lot going on, but it's really kind of nice. And to have such it's almost got Midsummer Murders vibe, just from the actual area, not the actual murders.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's got that nice warmth to it.
Yeah.
Even though it's a dark crime book.
But Midsummer Murders, it was dark. I mean, they called that cozy, but there were people getting run over by
I
runaway
wouldn't say it was cozy.
heads
It was
chopped
just
off.
daytime TV pre-Watershed.
Yeah. I mean, I like to think that all of mine are realistic. You know, I think that it's realistic. Some of that was a bit far-fetched, but I think these are realistic murders conceived by a mad actor. And, you know, somebody actually said to me, said, oh, I said, I really love this book, but I found some of the murder scenes, the dialogue became a little stilted. And I went back, I said, because that's actual Shakespeare I'm using there, because he's an actor. And when he kills somebody in character, he uses the Shakespeare line. So that's something I may have to guard against, culture. So.
Sarah's asking, do you have a go-to-buy author? So I know we were talking a little bit before we went live about what we're both reading at the minute.
Yeah.
So we're going to ask that as a double-edged question. Who are your, what Kaz would call, shut up and take my money authors? You see the name and you just want to read it no matter what it is. Don't care about the blurb, you just want to pick it up. And also, what are you currently reading?
Right, well, Chris Lloyd, winner of the Gold Crown for Paris Requiem. He's written a couple of novels. The third one's coming out soon in the Eddie Giral series. Eddie is a detective, I think he's an inspector in the Paris police. After the German, he's there when the Germans come in 1941, was it? 40, I think the Germans took over, didn't they? And he's having to try and do his job under Nazi rule, under German occupation. And those books are fantastic. I mean, Chris is a great writer, and it's like being in Paris. His research is second to none. He's a bit of a research junkie. Do yourself a favour. Absolutely fantastic. I've just voted for this old chap, Trevor Wood.
You Can Run by Trevor Wood was on my top 10 list last year.
Yeah.
It is an absolutely, it's just a brilliant, brilliant book.
Brilliant, brilliant writer. And I'm just going into this one, Finding Sophie by the great Imran Mahmood. It's I'm only about halfway in so far, but it's a really good book. It's tense, it's taut, and it's surprisingly moving. It's a beautiful, I mean, Imran's a great writer, and he's a decent bloke as well. So, but you know, that's really, really good. And I got this one, and this one I'm loving. Well, I've read it. More Point by Rob.
Nice.
Really cracking book. I mean, Rob writes a cracking thriller, doesn't he? So, you know, you've got to read that one. And I'm just going through this young lady's back catalogue.
Oh, that's on the shelf behind me. And
she is really, really good. Why she isn't up there with all the top bestsellers?
Agreed, completely.
Hopefully she will be again soon. And obviously, Alex Chowdhury, love all of her stuff.
Yeah.
The Terrible Twins, Abir Mukherjee and Vaseem Khan, they both can't write a bad book. I always have to buy everything they put out. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they've both done with these, moving away from their series and writing these new books. It's going to be really interesting because they're both real thrillers in America, which is totally different to anything that either of them written before. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that one pans out. If you're talking thrillers, love Tony Kent. I don't know if you read any Tony Kent, but
I've not. I owned them. I've just not got there yet. I need to get him in for an interview because that's when I managed to read all of the books, when I've got them on my reading list for interviews.
Yeah. Good luck keeping Tony away from anything political when he comes in.
We can talk about the politics within the books. I will cut you off, Guy.
I'm not being political. I'm just talking about somebody who is political.
I've actually got, seeing as you mentioned Trevor,
I
have this that landed this week, The Silent Killer. So I'm really looking forward to this one.
Evening, Anthony. yeah, I mean, I just don't know what I've got to do. Me and Trevor are really good mates, and we're working on a charity book together, and I still don't get an advance copy of his books. So
yeah, what are you going to do?
Well, maybe I should sleep with him like you do, and that might do the trick. So, you know.
No, I did tell my husband to watch this on YouTube, but I'm glad he didn't.
Yeah. I know Trevor is a good kisser from experience. So, you know.
Dear Lord, where do we even begin with you? Right. You have been really busy moving swiftly on.
Yes.
Doing all kinds of things. So what have you been up to?
Well, I've at the Stratford Literary Festival last week, which was great because the night before the festival started, the hotel burnt down. Yeah.
Okay.
Crown Plaza caught fire the night before the festival started. So
is everybody okay with the whole thing?
But no, what it did is the part where all the festival was going to be, there's a big entrance foyer with several rooms off it. Where all the bedrooms were, that just got a bit of smoke damage. But the bit where the festival was, which are 3 huge auditorium rooms, and all the corridor with all the books and everything, that there's a projector in one of the rooms caught fire, short circuited, set fire to that main room, and then terrible smoke damage to all the rest of it. Sprinklers went off, water damage everywhere. Then the fire brigade came in and flooded it even further. So that's out of action probably for the next few months during the height of the season. And the Crown Plaza is always full of tourists from all over the world. So, yeah, that'll be interesting. But, yeah, overnight, Joe and her staff, they managed to move it to the Welcome Hotel up the road, the Welcome Hotel and Golf Course, and another couple of venues. And it went on. And it was really good. I mean, I was on one of the first events, and then I volunteered to work in the bookshop a couple of the days there. So, yeah, it was a really good event. It's not the kind of crime event that we'd go to. I mean, Val McDermott was there, but it was a literary event. There were poets there, and Michael Rosen was there, and Dame Judi Dench was there, and things like that. So, yeah, it was a really good event, but it was all encompassing. So,
I can't believe I didn't know that you were going to meet Michael Rosen.
Well, I met him when you met him. He walked past and he said hello. I said hello, Mr. Rosen, because I was at the bookshop. I wasn't interviewing him.
When I was a teaching assistant, I used to play his poems on YouTube to the children.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and I just adore that man so much.
Oh, he's a great man.
I'm very jealous that you got to meet him.
Yeah. Well, as I say, it was only a passing hello, but I'm sure it left an everlasting mark on him. So
how could it not? How could it not, Kai?
Well, right, I made him buy one of my books.
I want to go back to the Croaking Raven because it's kind of the point. I know we're going to veer off repeatedly. Yeah. One of the things I wanted to ask you, because I feel like we haven't talked about this, how was it balancing a book set technically historical, which sounds ridiculous, doesn't it, when you think anything pre-90s is kind of historical, setting a book then with the times as they were, but making sure that it kind of matched up to back then, but without being offensive. You know, there are things that are kind of were done then that aren't done now.
Yeah.
So, you know, find it, and you've done it beautifully. You've managed it beautifully. But how did you find that? Did you worry about that when you were writing?
Not at all, because I'm not a historical revisionist. I hate the idea of rewriting books from the past because they show you how we have improved since then. There are things we said then which were in common usage in Enid Blyton or John Buchan that we would never dream of saying now. But I think the fact that we can read them in those books illustrates that we have actually moved forward. So I don't like revisionism. So you will see in that book that the only female to have broken the glass ceiling was Mel Townsend. There is no other female senior officer there because it was 1972.
Yep.
That just didn't happen then. So I've represented that. And there is that kind of reference, which I've tried to not do, but imply that a lot of the fellas view some of their female colleagues objectively, which is, I'm afraid, what used to happen in the 70s. I was around then, and objectification was a thing, But yeah, I think you've got to show how it really was without saying that was fine, because it wasn't. But I don't.
This was my point, that you've kind of you've got everything in there that happened, but you're also not saying that it was all okay. You've got people kind of responding to it in a way of, you've managed it really well.
Yeah. It's just, I was there. I'm writing about a Stratford I knew. I was a young teenager in 72, and I knew that Stratford. Some of these people in the book are real people. I've based it on. I knew them. I know them. So I had that to draw on, and I've been going to the Royal Shakespeare Theatre since 1970. I went there first from school, and I've been watching plays at the RSC for over 44 years. So
wow.
I know what I'm talking about there. So, which is unusual.
No comment. So what is it about Shakespeare that really kind of not just captured your imagination, but really drew you in and made you want to use similar structures?
Well, I just think he is the greatest writer of all time. The man so understood the human condition. And when you have heard a bit of Shakespeare, you will be amazed how much of his language is in common usage these days. It's everywhere. And you listen to some of his stuff. It just, some of the soliloquies, and it just, makes your blood run cold. It's just so wonderfully written, it's fantastic stuff, So I just think he's a treasure. And I was in Stratford today, and I like to go and write in the cafes in Stratford because they're busy at this time of year. But I get myself, most of the cafe owners know me now, and I set myself in a corner. I'm writing away, and you just hear these bits of snippets, and there's every country, every language. You'll meet the world in Stratford on a sunny day in the summer, and you think, why are these people here from all over the world? And it's because of a writer. When the hell does that ever happen? Because of a writer. And you think, wow, that is something, isn't it? I was talking to a Chinese lady today, and she was saying, and a Japanese lady, and I'm not conflating the two. I talk to a lot of people, and they were both saying that Shakespeare is massive in China, and especially in Japan. People absolutely love it. Which bodes well for the translations, doesn't it?
It does indeed. I know Mike Craven's got some gorgeous Japanese covers.
Yeah.
So hopefully he's paving the way for everybody else.
Yeah, right. It's I think a cover's so important. I do spend a lot of time and money on my covers to get it right, and I think so far all the covers have been good. But that's what attracts people to the book. Unless you're a big name author, the only thing that'll attract people to your book in the first place is a cover. Well, that looks interesting. Then if it looks interesting, they'll pick it up, and then they'll read the blurb and think, oh yeah, that's interesting, I might give that a go, or things like this. But cover, what first attracted you to Dave? The way he looked, obviously.
The fact he could do backflips from
the man's still. Like a Greek god, so obviously.
For anyone who doesn't know, Dave is my husband.
Yeah, best you point that out, really.
Bit of a bromance going on. Let's go back to talking about your covers. I don't know if you can hear me or not. He's in the room at the side of me. So you're really lucky. You're heavily involved in all of your cover designs.
Yeah.
You've been heavily involved in every aspect of your books.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason for that. I come from a business background. I ran an international business of my own, and when I sold that and decided to write as part of my retirement thing, I mean, I started a record label in Texas. And so I was involved in making the records, designing covers, writing songs. And I'm not a control freak, but I did get offered a contract for the first book. And because I've come from the music and business, I took the trouble to read the contract. I thought, I'm not signing that. Ridiculous. And that's why I decided to go out on my own, go indie, because I just want to be able to control it, and decide when my books come out and decide exactly what I'm going to write, and write what I want to write. I don't write because I need to write for money. I write because I love to write, and I want people to read my books. I mean, it's a pure pleasure for me. It keeps the other side of my aging brain going, and I still do a bit of business as well. I still write songs for American blues and rock artists. So I just like to have control. If you're going to spend that much time writing a novel, you better make sure you're writing what you want to write. Yeah. And then when you do, you want to make sure it looks the way you want it to look. I want control.
And you mentioned the word
I want control. Yeah.
You mentioned the word retirement, and I chuckled because I don't believe you.
Well, I did. I sold my business, and I never needed to work again.
But you're never going to retire, are you? Really?
No, I'll keep doing stuff. I do stuff that interests me. And I've got to be honest, the crime scene, there are some lovely people in it. Yeah. I mean, I haven't met a wrong-un yet. I've only been in the scene for a couple of years. Makes it sound like a gay thing, that doesn't it? No, but I've only been in the scene for a couple of years. But it's great. The people are lovely. The events are fun. Everybody seems to be giving everybody else a leg up. There doesn't seem to be any huge egos anywhere. And you go to events and festivals, and it's a real joy, isn't it? I mean, you know that. It's just such fun, isn't it? I mean, you take Alex Chowdhury, very successful writer, doesn't need to help me out in any way. And she's been absolutely fabulous. And she's helped.
Utterly gorgeous human and extraordinarily talented
great writer, lovely person. Same with Imran. Imran's a lovely, lovely person. Do anything for you. And look at the authors that we've got who have given their time and their stories free of charge for the anthology we're doing to help.
You want to explain what that is? That was going to be my next question. I wasn't sure whether to bring it up yet or not, but you've gone with it, so run full steam ahead.
Trevor Wood, who's had enough plugs tonight, to be fair, but Trevor
Wood.
He's
not.
Yeah,
this is Trevor's book, The Silent Killer, which will be out.
That is
in July.
Trevor's book. My mate Trevor's book, who we're doing a compilation together with, and has not sent me a copy of. That's how good a mate he is.
I'm interviewing him, which is why I've got a copy, to be fair.
All right. Okay. Whatever. I'm not disappointed. Any road up. Wait till I review it though. So Trevor, we were just chatting. Was it at Harrogate or before that? No, I'll tell you where it was. It was Aberystwyth, Crime Cymru.
Don't you?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, well, when you're retired, you can. When I went there for the first Crime Cymru at Aberystwyth, and Trevor was there, and we got chatting, and he helps out with the People's Kitchen in Newcastle, which is a place where they feed a lot of the homeless there, give them warm meals. And he was looking to raise some money, and I made a donation. And I said, well, listen, I work with St. Basil's in Birmingham, and they're a fantastic organisation, and they specialise in getting youngsters who are 25 years old and younger off the streets into places of safety, into education, further education, apprenticeships, and into work. I mean, they take them the whole way. And that's why Birmingham has got the lowest rough sleeping under 25 of any city in the country.
Didn't know that.
So I said to Trevor, well, why don't we try and do something to help these two charities? I know plenty of famous authors. You know plenty of famous authors. Let's tap them up for a story and put an anthology out. And, I'll do all the work, Trev. I'll do all the heavy lifting because you're far too old. and we'll do it that way. And he said, yeah, great. So that we are, as you know, actually you're the editor and contributor.
Not about me tonight, move on.
I know, but I'm just saying, so it'll be absolutely perfectly edited. We're doing what we call it, street crime, which will be out.
You're not supposed to announce that. I mean, we're glad of the exclusive, but
well, you know, you can't do enough to help a good cause, can you?
No.
And that'll be out. That'll be out
Street Crime is a great name for an anthology.
I thought so. I thought that up. But yeah, so that'll be out in November. Buy it, else I'll come round and haunt you. Simple as that.
That's funny because your editor thought it was going to be out in September.
Yeah, well, there you go. So just bought you a couple of months there. Our PR lady, the great Laura Lee, said it's going to be far better doing it before Christmas in November. It'll have more effect. So, as she's an exceptionally good PR person who's got a vast experience working with the Big Five, I'll take her word for it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sarah's saying Sam Guy is lovely.
Thanks, Sarah.
And she's asking if you're going to any other book events this year.
I am. I've got a book launch for the paperback of The Croaking Raven. Does the advertising plug. On the 21st at Warwick Books, which is probably too far away for you to travel to, but that'll be there with Mog and Pauline, lovely people there. Then I'm doing the Creativity Festival in Worcester on the 26th of this month, which is at Script Haven. And that's going to be, I'm on a crime panel with Abigail Osborne, amongst others, and Chris Lloyd. That'll be a lovely panel in the evening. It's part of a one-day festival. I'm doing a thing with Rob at Script Haven in July, the great Rob Parker, yeah, where we're doing one of my kangaroo courts, and Rob will be the judge.
For anyone who doesn't know about kangaroo court, explain.
Well, kangaroo
in the nicest way you can explain.
Well, basically, Kangaroo Court, I used to have an improv theatre company, and Kangaroo Court is something I did first time for the great and wonderful Dr. Jackie up at Newcastle Noir. And basically, you get a room full of people, and we pick somebody who is the most likely person to be murdered. And then we have to find the person who murdered her.
Yet you're still here.
Sorry?
Yet you're still here.
Well, I am the lead detective. Well, actually, I'm the lead prosecutor. And then we select another prosecutor because it's done under the rules of the 1972-74 West Midlands Regional Crime Squad, who were famous for stitching people up. And their motto was, everybody is guilty until proven guilty. So, yeah, we are going to stitch somebody up. We have a bit of fun getting there. So, yeah, it's total improvisation, and all the gags and where we go come from the answers I get out of the audience or the suggestions they make. So, yeah, it's good fun. It depends on the audience, obviously. But I had one lady who just wouldn't get into it, and she was lying back and just saying nothing. And I said, so what do you do then? She said, I'm a housewife. I said, oh, Rose West was a housewife. Moving on. But yeah, so yeah, no, Sarah, they wouldn't let me do that at Harrogate. Crud, heaven forbid. So
you might. You don't know. Have you asked?
Corporate Harrogate, you got to be joking, haven't you? Same old faces every year there. So.
Awkward. Moving on.
That's not controversial. Look at the list every year. Same every year. But they're the big names. So it's a big festival, so you'd expect it. But you'd like to see a little bit more where they look outside at new names and introducing. I mean, why isn't Callum McSorley there on one of the major panels this year? One of the most interesting, entertaining new.
Did you read Squeaky Clean?
Of course I did. It's fantastic. Yeah, it's fantastic. I love
when
Callum.
You see that on the cover and you see kind of, I didn't even see it straight away. It was the windscreen and it's been wiped a little bit. Didn't even spot that straight away until you start reading. Then all of a sudden, it becomes really apparent what the cover means.
Yeah. To be fair, I think, is Vasim in charge again this year?
I believe so.
Yeah, because if Vasim he's in charge for any period of time, you'll see it change for the better. I mean, the guy's fantastic. I mean, what he's doing with the
any
CW
festival will, you know, everyone keeps updating. They keep updating who their not their target market, that they will be keeping an eye on that, because obviously there can be fluctuations. But yeah, the idea of keeping it fresh and keeping new people in, I think is the way forward for all of the festivals.
Yeah, I thought that event,
many of them.
Yeah, the event with Graham Bartlett last year, Gorilla Killer, that was fantastic. That was a really good innovation. I really enjoyed that because Graham knows his stuff, as well as being a fantastic writer.
He's a terrific writer.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to this new book. So I'm looking forward to that. I've read the other two; they're brilliant. So yeah, Joe.
The Joe Howe books.
Brilliant. Yeah, absolutely
excellent series so far.
And he's a really nice bloke as well. So
I did hear somebody. I did read somebody was saying that when he turns on his police voice, it's quite different, and you would never expect it from our mild-mannered Graham.
Well, you must have really upset him at some time then, because I've never heard that. So.
I've not heard it. I've heard of it. I've not heard it.
You don't get to the position that Graham was in the police force without having that hard edge. You're going to need it, aren't you? So he must have it there. We just don't get to see that side of him. So
see, this is making me wonder, are there any jobs that you've had that I don't know about yet? Because we've done a few interviews now. We've talked about you being a golfer, writing scripts, and you work in the music industry. There must be so many things that you've done. Anything you've not told us yet?
Well, I mean, how far do you want to go back? I mean, I've been a waiter in a
there you go, a new one.
Yeah, I was very good at that. I've worked in a menswear shop. Suits you, sir. Yeah, I've done loads of stuff. I used to be warehouse distribution manager, logistics, all that kind of stuff.
Favorite job you've ever had?
Favorite job I've ever had? I'd have to say being a professional golfer. But the best job I ever had was when I ran my own company, because we were massively successful. I worked all over the world, which that wasn't the best thing. People think getting on jets and flying all over the world is fantastic. It's not. It's boring. And you never get to see the best part of the countries you go in. But yeah, I've led an interesting life, so you know, and hopefully I'll lead it for a bit longer. But just looking at, I'm looking at Anthony's comment there. Yeah, Harrogate is great. I always spend the whole time in the beer tent just catching up with people, and it's absolutely lovely.
I spent a lot of time with Tony last year. Tony was great.
Yeah,
it took me off to one side to sit, because you know how overwhelmed I was by it last year.
Is that a euphemism for drunk?
No, just overwhelmed with hundreds and hundreds of people to chat to, and it was really lovely. But you know, people prepare you for how busy something's going to be, and then I didn't really kind of think it was going to be how it was explained to me, and then it was more than that. But Tony took me off to sit on this little couch. Sarah, you did keep me company as well. Yeah, thank you. Tony just took me off to sit for 15 minutes out of the way of everything. And it was really helpful. He's a good friend, is Tony.
Yeah.
And I really appreciated it. Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah. I've only one question.
Oh, God. Is it what my favourite job was? Because it might surprise you.
Go on. What's your favourite job?
Cheese packer.
Cheese packer? That's your favourite job?
Yeah. I love everything I've done. I don't think I've had a job that I've ever completely hated. I might have grown to hate some places in the end and moved on. But I worked in a factory in Wiltshire where they literally pack the cheese. This was 21 years ago.
Right.
And you know those little selections you get at Christmas with 7 cheeses in at Tesco?
Oh, right, yeah.
I packed those.
Did you?
It was so much fun. You know, when you just stand in a line, all chatting, radio on, and you just literally, hands are going like the clappers, just packing cheese. It was amazing. Best job ever.
Really?
Yeah.
And was that like one of those spatial awareness things? Because some were triangular, some were square. You had to have that spatial awareness three-dimensional spatial awareness to pack them in the box.
Yeah, but now I'm realising I've got no spatial awareness, so how was I so good at it?
So basically, that was like a Krypton factor you were doing there, wasn't it, really, with cheese?
Absolutely, yeah. That's exactly what it was like, yeah.
Oh, Sarah, what is your favourite snack? I'd have to say avocado smash.
Bit of chilli on it?
I'm allergic to chili. It's straight to hospital if I have chili. So, yeah.
Could you have told me that before I feed you?
You've never fed me.
No, before I feed you.
Well, you've never fed me, so it's hardly a thing, is it?
No, this was the point, before I do feed you.
Yeah, well, I'm allergic to chili, so
right,
if you want to kill me, give me chili. So
there's an idea for a book there, Sarah. Get writing.
Steady on there. I'd have to say an avocado smash. I love that as a snack, with some lovely big beefsteak mushrooms on the side, bit of watercress, and what's the white crumbly cheese?
Feta.
Feta, thank you. Bit of feta. So. Yeah, I'm feeling quite hungry now. So I was up training early this morning. So thanks for that.
Do you have a typical day?
No.
No, I know, but I want you to tell us about what you actually do.
Right. Well, usually I'm up by 6:30 and I'm training. So I'm either in the gym. This time of year with the sun out, as you know, I've got a few acres out the back there, and I've cut into the field because we've got a sloping hill as well. So I've cut into the field pathways, and I've taken a lot of it back, 2 or 3 acres back to meadowland for all the butterflies and the birds, and it's turning it into a bit of a nature reserve. And I walk up and down the hills and round the paths, and I normally do about 4 miles before breakfast doing that. And I have some 5 kg dumbbells, which I have on a bench, and every lap round I stop there and do a load of repetitions, and then I go off and walk. I've got this nice little fresh air circuit I do in the nice weather, and then I'll quite often 3 days a week I'll go off and do a 2-hour bike ride, or I'll go out for lunch with my wife, and then we'll do a 2-hour walk after lunch in the Cotswolds or somewhere. And I tend to write only 3 hours a day, and it can be wherever's convenient. But if I get 3 hours, I get 2,000 words done. So
what's the most recent scene you've written, if you can say it without giving any spoilers away? It's one of my favourite questions, and I very, very rarely ask it these days.
I've just written an interesting scene where one of the main characters in book 2 has decided to kill somebody and turning killer himself, and in the course of it drowns. That was today's scene.
Wow.
Yeah. So some light-hearted stuff there. So.
I know one of the things that we've talked about is the fact that this book was dark. The Croaking Raven is dark in places. There's a lot of humour. But you're planning on making each book darker and the humour darker and maybe less of it?
Yeah, what I'm doing is I'm trying to take it on a Shakespearean tragedy descent into hell, you know. Any good Shakespearean tragedy just gets darker and darker and darker as it goes. I'll always have an edge of humour because I can't not write humour. But yeah, I always do that. But Macbeth version, that's going to be dark. And there's a bomb that I planted in book 1, which will explode in book 3, and that's going to be dark, and that's going to be a huge shock to everybody in the book. Oh my God, did that really happen? You know, so yeah, I'm really looking forward to writing that. You know, when you're writing something, I can't wait to write that. You think, no, you've got to finish this book, make this book the best it can be. But yeah, I've got 16 books plotted out, ready to go. I only loosely plotted out, 3 or 4 pages, but yeah, so a lot of writing to do. I see Sarah saying, do you kill off any animals? Do I look like I want to end my career? No, I don't kill any animals. So
I don't feel like your editor would allow that.
Well, I don't know who she is. Sounds like a nightmare, whoever she is. Assuming she's a female.
She really does, yeah.
Who knows? So yeah, I'll have to wait and see. Never met her. So just send her these things. I send her this lovingly crafted thing off, and it comes back with lines and crosses through, and C minus should do better kind of stuff on it. You know, what can you do?
No, but you've always kind of had a thing, haven't you, about who you would kill and basically what you would really stay away from. You're pretty open to most subjects, but there are things that you would probably not touch.
Well, you know, I'm in a mixed marriage. My son's black, so if there's anything that's racist, I'm strictly on the anti-racist side of the fence, obviously.
As
would any decent person be. Personally, and this is going to be hugely controversial, I don't see anything wrong with a dog getting shot during the course of a story if it's like a police dog trying to attack somebody, but it's become a no-no. But yeah, people are quite happy to kill children. So I've never understood that, how we place dogs and cats on a higher plane than human beings.
It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because no doubt you've sat and kind of read all kinds of things, you know, probably while eating your tea, still reading, not bothered by it.
Yeah. I mean, here's a question for you then. So would Hound of the Baskervilles not make it into print today? Because they end up killing the dog.
One.
You know, would that not make it into print today? Because if it doesn't, it's ridiculous. But that's where we are.
I think most people that I've spoken to would happily skip a section, you know, skip a paragraph or two of the graphic detail, the bit they don't want to see, and just carry on reading and still enjoy the rest.
Well, I with my book, you say they're dark, but you never see graphic detail. I take it to a certain point, and it's normally just referred to then, apart from when Marlanton chopped all those fingers off. But, you know, that was funny.
I've got one other in my head, but it's a spoiler, so I'm not gonna go at it. But when a copper in the book is throwing up, then you know.
Yeah, I don't go for the Scandi noir, you know, dissection of victims.
You don't go for the gratuitousness for the sake of it. It all fits within the story, and I think I'd say, Sarah, that's the difference. If it fits the story, I've read excellent books where animals have been killed off, and it's been a brief thing. You've not seen the death or the torture. It's more you're aware of what happened. But the same with, you know, with any kind of dark scene. There are some scenes there are some authors who I have started books, and I won't name any of them. There are some authors where I've started the book and I've just thought, I don't think this is for me. I don't think I can. Yeah. If we're starting off on page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with, I don't want to say it because it's such an obvious scene. I'm not going to say what it is, but I'll know quite early on whether it's for me or not. And I would never leave a negative review for something that just isn't for me. No. If the writing's still excellent, it might pull me through the dark scenes.
There are two ladies, both British, both fantastic writers, who both go dark. And it is dark, but they do it in such a way that it's not offensive. And that's Christy Newport and Nadine Matheson. I mean, they both are.
I should have known why you were going there.
Yeah, they are both dark, you know, darkety dark.
Yeah.
But they've got that edge of realism, and there's always a bit of sly humor behind it as well. And I find that quite acceptable. I think they're both fantastic writers. So, yeah. But yeah, there are books where you can just see the authors come out to shock you, you know, and I'm going to make this war. I'm going to give you a sleepless night with this one, but that's not for me.
Something's just, I'm not going to say what the thought was, I'll tell you afterwards, but something just made me shudder at the very thought of it. It's hard.
Not in one of my books, though, surely.
No,
that's all right.
No, it's hard because there's so many different authors and so many different books, you know, and finding a thing that you love, it's never as simple as one genre, is it? There's always going to be something in every genre, even if it's really dark and it's not usually your thing. There will be one book that draws you in. same with cozy. You might just be really into dark stuff and then read something cozy and think, oh, bloody hell, that was great.
Well, my two favourite books of all time aren't crime. They're Laurie Lee. Their historical memoir of when he walked out into pre-Civil War Spain and got caught up in the Civil War in 1936, as I walked out one midsummer morn. And then the follow-up where he went back 30 years later, A Rose to Winter. And it is the most beautiful prose you'll ever read. It's just fantastic. And the descriptions are so evocative. And they're my favourite books of all time. And there's no crime in there. Well, there's war crimes in there, but there's no crime in there. It's just amazing writing. So, you know, good writing is good writing. I don't think I could ever get into this dark romance, which is kind of like 50 Shades of Grey kind of stuff. It's, you know, really dark erotica. I mean,
I've not said it, not read it. Sorry, so I've got no kind of.
Well, I made a mistake thinking, dark romance. Is this where they're trying to put crime and romance together? And I started reading the book, which I won't mention. Nope, it's not that. It wasn't that. So yeah.
So it went somewhere you completely weren't expecting. Okay.
Oh yeah. Legs akimbo.
Have you read any Mitch Albom?
No, I haven't.
You need to. You need to read everything that man has put his hands on.
Mitch Albom.
Albom, Albom. Not crime. I started with a book of his called the 5 People You Meet in Heaven, and I've worked through all of his books. That I think I've got a couple left. Yeah. But yeah, amazing.
I suppose it'd be a bit of a bummer if the devil was one of them, wouldn't it? So, just saying.
Looking right at me. Okay.
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't meet Suella Braverman there, would you? But that's another matter. So, oh, sorry, that was politics, wasn't it?
I'm gonna say, told you, I cut you off. Sarah's saying Christy's great.
She is. She's one, and she's a lovely person too. Christy and Amy, what a talented couple they are. I've got one of Amy's originals hanging up in our lounge.
I love that. Not jealous at all.
No, she's brilliant. I mean, they're a brilliant couple, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're far too talented to be together. It's not right, is it? So the egos in that house must be amazing, you know.
We should talk more about the Croaking Raven.
Should we?
Yeah, absolutely, because we've only got about 5 minutes left, and there is a scene that... No, I don't think it's a spoiler at all. Showing how the police maybe handled certain things back in the 70s. And there is something that... It really made me laugh because it's not real now. You try not to think of the things that could have happened back then. But as this scene in a book, it really made me laugh. And it's how Fred handles people on stairs.
Oh, yes, yeah. Well, you have to remember that physics dictate that people normally fall down the stairs. But in the 70s, you could also kick them up the stairs before you kicked them down the stairs again. So, yeah, and there could be soap on the stairs. So, yeah, it was just part of the interview procedure. I mean, I used to know a lot of cops in the 70s because the golf course I was assistant professional at as a youngster, we gave courtesy of the course to the local police force, and we had the bomb squad guys used to go there, and they were having to deal with the IRA and terrorists from all over the place. And we had terrorists from everywhere in those days, but one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. But they regularly used to beat confessions out of people and strong arm them different times. I mean, when I was a kid, if you back chat to Bobby, you get a slap around the head, and if you went and told your parents, they'd probably give you another slap as well. So it probably explains a lot about my writing, actually. But there you go. But yeah, it's just different times. And I'm not so sure they were worse in that respect. I think respect for law and order. If you don't have respect for law, society breaks down. And I think we're seeing with a lot of this overly woke stuff, with society is breaking down. We're not having respect for other people's opinions. I mean, I really find that there's a huge paucity in standard of debate these days. People think I'm right. No, I'm right. Where a proper debate is where you go to actually learn something and expand your mind, not close it. So I love to talk to people I don't agree with, but find an accommodation, so what, or agree to disagree instead of just saying, no, I'm going to shut you down. I don't agree with you. That's no way to move forward, and it's no way to learn. It's so negative, and we seem to be getting. I can't believe students are banning speakers from the campus. If you don't agree with somebody, go and listen to them, and you'll have an opportunity at the end to pose your questions and get them to justify their position. Surely that's a better way than just saying, no, we don't want to listen to you. And that's why I think crime writing's got a place, because in crime writing, modern crime writing, we address a lot of the problems in the modern world. There's nothing that's not really addressed in a crime book. If you take the whole genre, we do tackle some tricky, tough social situations, and historical.
And I think that's a good way to expand minds, because it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because you could go and have a conversation with somebody and think that everything that is coming out of their mouth is absolutely appalling. It's one thing to listen. I think it'd be quite hard to not walk away from certain topics and certain people. It's a catch-22, but when you're writing both sides, I think there's a real opportunity when you've got two people in one book, different sides of the argument. It could be the villain and the apparently innocent person who maybe isn't all that innocent, and the villain who maybe isn't all that villainous, but their opinions having an impact on each other.
I just think I would rather hear the opinions of people I disagree with, because you need to know. If you put them, you don't know what they're up to. You want to know what they're up to. You want to see what they're doing, so that you can monitor them, basically, and see what's formed that opinion. See if you can challenge it. It might be something that's, I can't do it because it's politics, but we were all sold a lie that some of us believed, and now we're not part of Europe. So people need to actually listen to the arguments and understand what they're voting for, whether you were for it or against.
It's very difficult when everybody's not telling the truth.
Exactly. We were never told the truth because the debate got too hot and this and that and divisive, and we never really got down to the actual grist of what the benefit could be and what the benefits of not doing it were. And the whole thing was predicated on misinformation in the end. So who can tell?
Tricky, isn't it? We are coming up to 2 minutes.
Can I just say, I'm worried about Donna. She's been very quiet tonight. Is she alive?
She's alive. She did message me before we went live, but I've just not managed to message her back yet.
I think we must have bored her. I think she's gone to sleep.
Been talking to you. Well, I'm surprised. I expected some tricky questions from Donna. I think you've got off lightly with me.
Yeah, I've got off very light again, haven't I? So go back to bed now.
So we are coming up to 1 minute left. So give us a recap. Tell us a little bit first about the initial Jimmy Wayne trilogy. I know you plan to continue the series. So what can people find from that trilogy so far?
Well, basically, it's taken Jimmy from being a washed-up singer with no route to the top to a serial-killing, best-selling writer who's now got enough dead bodies in the shed to make 2 more albums, and he's moving on. He's done a world tour, which is where we finished in the last book. He's just found a new love in his life who's alive, which is a big plus. And the next one is the trilogy is about the price of fame, and there's a big price to pay. And of course, when you become world famous, it's very hard to hide your past, especially if your past is full of dead bodies buried in a graveyard in a canyon, which is liable to earthquakes. So yeah, I'll leave it there. But Mar Lanton is going to get a backstory before that one comes out. But the trilogy is called The Price of Fame, and there will be a Grisham-like courtroom drama in one of the books as well, which kind of gives you a clue what's going to happen to Jimmy. So, and
a final recap of the Croaking Raven and where is best to buy it, and can people get signed copies from you?
The best place to buy it is from my website, info@guyhale.com, or any good bookshop, or indeed Amazon. So yeah, it's everywhere really. So can't get away from the bloody thing. But yeah, so wherever you want to buy it, really. If you want to buy it from my website, I'll give you a personal inscription, and just to prove I can spell sometimes without an editor. So,
is there a benefit to buying it from the website rather than from one of the other?
Yeah,
I mean, a large online retailer.
Well, it means that the author makes more money, and it'll enable me to feed my wife and pets and fish and child. Not really, none of them need me now, but just the fish really need me now, and the cats. That's about it, really. But yeah, it just enables me to do more stuff.
And you can keep more of the profit if people buy from your website.
Yeah, most authors are now realizing that if they want to keep going, they need to sell direct to their readers. That's the way forward. A lot of businesses are going direct to customer now, and that's the way forward. But I am a huge supporter of independent bookshops. Absolutely. And I love selling through them. So yeah.
And I know that you've to get you started, you've donated copies to certain bookshops just to get going.
Yeah, I do. I said, don't invest in me. I'll invest in you.
Yeah.
Here's some free books. With the profit you make on those that haven't cost you anything, just replace them with books, and then you're in a positive cash flow situation from day one. So yeah, but yeah, I try.
It's just excellent to hear an indie author supporting independent bookshops, local bookshops all over the country. I think that's just a great thing.
Yeah, well, there is a plan to start opening accounts direct with us and giving them 30-day accounts with sale or return as well. So yeah, just to give them the benefit they get from gardeners. So,
which is fantastic. Well, let's hope you're going to take the publishing world by storm.
Well, maybe if we could just have a little breeze, that'll be nice. So,
thank you so much. We've just gone 8 o'clock. So, thank you very much to everyone who's joined us. Thank you for questions, and to anyone who watches this anywhere else in the world. Thank you for joining us. And I look forward to hearing about the next book.
Pleasure talking to you as always, Sam. Take care.